So there's one particular demographic, y'all, that is not too hot on Trump at the moment. So as you all know, he had a very concerted effort to do basically outreach to young men. That's why he did the whole podcast strategy where he went, he did podcasts with the Rogan Sphere. He went on Theo Von. He went on Andrew Schultz. He went, of course, on Joe Rogan's show. J.D. Vance also was on like Tim Dillon's show and Theo Von's show. And this was a very concerted effort by the Republicans to try to tap in to, a new pool of voters, particularly disaffected young men. And look, it paid off in the same way that in the election, Trump increased his numbers with some immigrant communities. He also increased his numbers with young voters. Now, Trump lies about that number and says he won it by 20, 30 points or some shit. He didn't. He still lost young voters. But in order for Democrats to win, they need to really hold a huge percentage of young voters. And Kamala just didn't. I believe she won it by like 6 points or something like that, young voters. But a lot of young men ended up voting for Trump. Now, that particular support for Trump, I think it's fair to categorize as soft Trump support. And the reason I say that is these are not day one ride or dies for Trump, right? This is not the 26% to 33% of the country that makes up that hardcore cult base. This was young people, might not follow politics very closely, might like, Theo Von or Andrew Schultz or Joe Rogan, and they see this guy on there. Oh, he doesn't seem so scary. Oh, it seems like maybe he'll help me. I guess I'll vote for him, right? Well, guess what? It's been 6 months that he's in office? And look at the results. So Daily Beast has an article. Young men who elected Trump just realized they screwed up. Quote, they are turning against him. Harvard director of polling tells the Daily Beast. The young men who helped get Donald Trump back in the White House are now realizing they made a massive mistake, according to a Harvard polling expert. John Della Volpe, director of polling at the Harvard Kennedy School Institute of Politics, told Joanna Coles on Tuesday's episode of the Daily Beast podcast that, quote, they are turning against him, referring specifically to young men between age 18 and 29 years old. Quote, more younger people are concerned that Donald Trump is doing more harm to them than good. Okay, that's essentially what the report card looks like. He told the Beast's chief content officer during the 2024 election, Trump won narrow margins in key battle states after making an outreach to disaffected young men using right-wing influencers, anti-woke rhetoric to secure their votes. Quote, I believe younger people were responsible for putting Donald Trump in office to start with, specifically younger men. However, he also suggested that these voters feel they have seen no return on the campaign promises made by Trump regarding the economy and other domestic concerns. Quote, younger people are quickly asking important questions like, I thought this was going to improve my economic standing. What about me? Said Della Volpe, who advised Joe Biden during his 2020 election campaign and worked with a PAC that tried to rally support for Kamala Harris in 2024. The economy has gyrated wildly under Trump, and his Liberation Day tariffs in April has seen the cost of imports to the U.S. surge, with the price being kicked down to the consumer. So, of course, the tariffs were an absolute catastrophe. And now you have countries fleeing the dollar at 1,000 miles an hour. You see the rise of China. You see the decline of America. You see manufacturing jobs here going away even faster than they were previously. You see widespread economic pain. But then on top of that, you also see massive cuts to the social safety net, which is absolutely crucial at a time when we have income and wealth inequality that's off the charts. And so these young voters are going, what the hell did I get out of this? Cole said that she was amazed that this group didn't draw conclusions from Trump's first term from 2017 to 2021. Della Volpe said that the 18 to 24-year-old subsection of the younger voter group only saw Trump as president during the beginning of the pandemic and therefore couldn't make a fully informed call on his abilities or lack thereof. Quote, people in their later 20s and early 30s who do have that memory of Trump won were more likely to support Democrats, right? So what they're concerned about is honestly the same thing all of us are concerned about. It is asking for, demanding some stability in their lives, specifically related to economics and finances. It's really all about that. But I do think that younger people just, they have a different lens. By the way, so one of the polls I saw on this, now Trump's approval rating in that particular demographic is down to 32%. He has polls for the country as low as 38, but some are still around 42 or so. 32 among young people. Younger men specifically were drawn to Trump's macho persona They were looking for Donald Trump as someone who wasn't defending the institutions, but someone who could use his strength to advocate for people who were economically anxious. It was really about the strength of his persona, I think, different than some specific policies. That was what was attractive specifically around younger men. And this is, look, and I got some shit for saying it at the time, but I stand by it because it's true. A lot of the Trump support, particularly in this demographic as well, it was totally vibes-based. When Trump goes on Rogan and lies the entire time, but he's charismatic and he's energetic and he's arrogant and he's certain about stuff, there's a vibe that these young people looked at. They're like, yeah, he seems strong, seems like a strong leader, seems like one of the guys. And so they voted on vibes. Call it what it is, they voted on vibes. They say, but after 6 turbulent months in the hot seat, young people are clearly overwhelmingly dissatisfied. His approval rating among younger people are in the 30s. A report from Del Vol's team in late April found that more than 4 in 10 young Americans under 30 say they're barely getting by financially. Fewer than 1/3 approved of President Trump. And that's the thing, right? Reality always catches up eventually. Reality always catches up eventually. And the reality is what? He's destroying the social safety net. At the same time, he's waging a trade war on the entire world, including our allies. Factory jobs are leaving. The economy is stagnating. And we'll talk about this in a little bit, but we just got the new job numbers and there was a job loss. So the Trump session is here. That's going to catch up, bro. Any soft supporters you have are going to go, well, this isn't working, right? The true cultists will stay, but the soft support is going to be gonzo. They're done. It's over. All right, so just to put the little cherry on top here, and this is something I've been saying for a long time, what young men need to realize, I mean, everybody needs to realize this, but especially young men need to realize this. These people hate you, bro. They hate you. They despise you. I'm not just saying that. It's actually true based on the stuff they say. So in this bill they just passed, the big beautiful bill, in that bill, what does it do? It massively cuts Medicaid, $800 billion cut to Medicaid. That's stripping healthcare away from low-income people and disabled people. There's plenty of young people in this country getting Medicaid, right? Listen to what they say about literally young men in particular. Ready? This is Steve Scalise, Republican.
We're actually cutting spending in this bill, getting rid of a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse, putting work requirements, for example, in a program like Medicaid so that the truly disabled and needy will be able to get better access to Medicaid because those able-bodied adults who are turning down work, the 35-year-old who's sitting at his mom's basement playing video games, is going to have to go get a job again. Those are going to be good things for the economy, but it's also something that helps reduce waste, fraud, and abuse and saves hundreds of billions of dollars in those programs.
That's what they think of you. The 35-year-old sitting in their mom's basement playing video games. You're the problem. You're a parasite. You don't deserve health care. You don't deserve it. You should struggle. By the way, it is rich. How many days a year do senators and congresspeople work? It's barely fucking anything, and they make a 6-figure salary. They're the lazy ones, and they're only representing billionaires. They're donors, and they have the nerve to lecture young people in a tough economy. This idea that the right has, that like, anybody who doesn't have a job is just lazy. Motherfucker, everybody wants a job. Everybody tries to get by. Everybody tries to pay the bills. Everybody does their best, right? But sometimes there are macroeconomic factors that screw people over. Are you going to tell me that in 2008, when we had the subprime mortgage crisis and the Great Recession and the economy tanked and unemployment skyrocketed to over 10%, that, oh, would you look at that, overnight, a much larger percentage of the population got lazy? No, those were macroeconomic factors which screwed over regular people. They try to judge, like, they genuinely view your worth by the size of your wallet. That's how they look at you. They view your worth as a person by the size of your wallet. So if you're struggling, you're barely getting by, you're not doing great, it's not because of other factors, economic factors, environmental factors, cultural factors. There's no outside influences. It's all you. You're just a bad person. You're just a bad, lazy person. Well, by that logic, 60% of the country is living paycheck to paycheck. Are they all lazy? Are they all bad people? Are they all not trying hard enough? No, you assholes rigged the economy. As you give more tax breaks to billionaires and screw over working people and strip their health care away from them, then you have the nerve to lecture them in the meantime and say, oh, you're in your mom's basement playing video games, bro? You're the problem. You don't deserve health care. It's incredible. Every other developed country says, oh, obviously, if we're going to be decent, moral human beings, healthcare is a right. It is not a privilege. If your fucking spleen explodes and you're trying to go to the hospital, should they go, well, hold on now. Do you have money? What's your job? What's your profession before I save you from death? This is how they think. This is how they think. Fuck you if you don't make a lot of money. We don't like you. That's how they think. By the way, to add more for you, here's another Republican asshole commentator on CNN. Listen to what he says.
On the Medicaid piece, though, there's obviously going to be a big debate about this. I mean, there are like almost 5 million able-bodied people on Medicaid who simply choose not to work. They spend 6 hours a day socializing and watching television. And if you can't get off grandma's couch and work, I don't want to pay for your welfare.
I don't know where you're getting those numbers from. CBO says there are 5 million Americans who are sitting on their couch watching television.
Regardless, this kicked 17
that you just cited.
This kicked 17 million people off of.
False.
17 million people
off. The numbers that we have.
Well, give me the numbers that you
just so that we're all on the same page.
Level set it from the
Let's level set. And the numbers that we have, the Senate version, 11.8 million people left uninsured by 2034. The House version is 10.9 million. So the Senate version is a little bit more aggressive.
So, in other words, as they strip 17 million people of health care, they lecture those people about being bad people. You literally can't make this up. As they do the evil thing, they do the bad thing. They sentence an extra 50,000 Americans to death every single year from lack of health care. They lecture them about you're bad people. You're shitty people. No, you guys are. You guys are. Because in a civilized country, healthcare is off the table, right? It's like we've come to this conclusion for so many other things in society, right? The fire department, that's a government entity. If somebody's house catches fire, nobody stands outside and looks at it and says, did they pay for the fire people to come? Maybe we shouldn't put their fire out because maybe they didn't pay the fire department yet. Nobody blames it. Maybe you deserve to have your house caught on fire. Nobody does that. Everybody understands, yeah, a firefighter is a public good. It is a public necessity. If your house catches fire, they got to put it out. They have a vested interest in doing that because you don't want the neighbor's house to catch fire either, right? Well, healthcare is the fucking same. It's the same. Imagine looking at a kid going to elementary school and going, do you have enough money to come here? What's your parents' job? Maybe you shouldn't be coming here. Maybe you don't fit. Nobody does that because we realize schooling is a public good. In a civilized society, we have public schools, right? It's the same for healthcare. They don't think about it like that. They think, I'll call you lazy. I'll call you a parasite. I'll say you sit around and watch TV all day. I'll say you don't want to work. And then I'll justify and rationalize taking the healthcare away from you. So maybe you can't afford your medicine. And maybe you can't get that surgery that you need. And you know what? You're on your own. I don't care. Screw you. All to grab that money and put it in the pocket of billionaires. Quite literally. The Medicaid cuts and the SNAP food stamp cuts in this bill directly pay for more money to the top 1%. That is class warfare. That's what that is. And they arrogantly argue for it on national TV by saying these people we're stripping healthcare from, they're just lazy. They're just bad people. This is how they think of the world. Guys, how many times have I said this? They invert the morality. They invert the narrative. So in other words, who's oppressing you? It's that the trans guy that lives down the street who never bothered anybody, goes about their business. That trans guy's oppressing you. That immigrant who's a day laborer, he's oppressing you. The guy who does backbreaking work all day in 90-degree sun and takes care of his family and, comes home at night, he's oppressing you. The poor person who's getting health care through Medicaid, they're oppressing you. They flip everything. So in other words, don't look at the corporations. Don't look at the billionaires. Don't look at the fascists who are locking up innocent people in concentration camps in the Everglades. Don't look at them. They're not the problem. They're the good guys. The bad guys, it's the trans kid. It's the immigrant. It's the person who's on Medicaid. So the people with no money and no power and no widespread base of support, they're the cause of all of your problems. It is offensively stupid. Offensively. No, the area you look at is where they have the power and where they have the money and where they have the control. And that is this asshole and all of his Republican colleagues. So to reiterate the main point here, they hate you. If you're a young man and you supported MAGA, you supported the Republicans, they hate you. They hate you. They don't like you. They wanted to take your vote and then say, thank you, now watch us give more money to billionaires. And that's what they did. And that's what they did. So, what did you learn? I think you know now. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.